Yo guys, how are we getting on? So today's going to be a little bit of a different episode. It's going to be a live sweat with Weazel, who's going to be playing 1KNL. It's going to be similar to some of the other videos that we've done where I'm going to be talking through spots, giving a little bit of help here and there, and hopefully we will get some very interesting spots. Really hope you enjoy this one. So today we're going to be playing 3 tables of 1KNL.
3 indeed.
And we're going to be hopping between, doing a bit of like, not live coaching, but just kind of like talking through spots. And you were saying at the beginning of the video, just before we started recording, you were wanting to play more this year. So hopefully this can kind of like help with that a little bit more, getting you back into the zone.
Yes. Although I do have to say that I feel quite nervous when I do these with you, you know. It's super weird because it feels as though I'm being watched, even though I stream and I know I'm being watched, but this feels more like there's more pressure on me. So
well, it's a bit easier to like disconnect from the fact there's like 300 people watching versus 1, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I'll tell you what, so the last time we did this, I was very much, you know, it stopped me from autopiloting. And that's something I've been trying to work on this year, where I've really been trying to be in the mood to grind. So the other day I wanted to stream, but I was kind of tired. So I just played 25 NL Blitz just so I could stream and, you know, chill with the chat and stuff. Whereas I used to just play whatever stakes and I wouldn't be focused and I wouldn't be dialed in. And this year, so far, only 2 weeks into the year, but I've really paid attention, really focused, and stopped myself from autopiloting. What was it you say? You say be curious or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much exactly what you're saying. Not autopiloting. All right, well then let's make that the goal of today then.
Okay.
Like picking up like small spots, like not necessarily winning the pot, but just like making decisions based on like every pot being valuable. That could just be a very good intention for the session. Oh, actually, I feel like last time we did one of these, you basically said that you just hadn't played off stream for like ages, like months maybe. You only played on stream. So that's good to hear. I
just didn't want to. I wasn't really, I wasn't really in the mood. Didn't fancy it. I don't know about range betting this, but I don't mind just being pretty aggressive. I don't mind sort of stabbing pretty often. Got a spade in hand. And then check turn and maybe look to hero call some rivers. More interesting pot down here. Against fun play. 3 X's. Want to play pots with this guy. I've got a full house. As much as I'd love to try and check raise to get all of the money, I think just betting something like this, and I think he's going to call with ace high pretty often on a brick. And if he has like 4s, he's going to snap that off as well. Yeah, nice. Maybe could get a bit greedier and try overbetting, but and here's just going to check back and beat 9 high.
Nice. Ace King, yeah, I think good reasons to bet. Like you block check raises from the King of Spades, which is like just a very good reason to want to bet. You get value from like worse ace high. And then the King Deuce, this is like really marginal and like really like, let's just say curiosity based. I think you could just go for like 0.5 big blinds more or like 1 big blind more. Because I don't think it changes whether or not they're going to call enough at the time to not justify like trying to eke out a little bit more. I think overbetting is a bit too greedy, but like I would custom size a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mate, I watched your Nagy tattoo video. For those of you who haven't seen it, Mark is, I don't know, the largest of simps for Nagy, for good reason, I would say.
I'm the largest of simps for my channel because I promised those guys that I get it done. It's nothing to do with Phil, realistically. I'm simping for the boys in the channel.
It's nothing to do with the 700 bags that you sugar daddy directly into your account.
Yeah, that doesn't even come into the equation. Right, I didn't roll for this one. Normally I would roll for hands that I expect to 3-bet. An ace queen, I would 3-bet big blind versus hijack somewhat often. I could probably consider raising flop. I don't really find... I find that on... Well, I think solver-wise, we have a bit more polar raises on ace-high boards and go for the bigger size. But this will probably make it in there sometimes. Obviously, not going anywhere. I think it's too thin to raise, so just calling and rivering trips. Depends on size in here, what I'm going to do, and opponent a lot, because I've noticed a lot of regs will give up a lot of bluffs on this type of board. So Right, overbet, so obviously polar, so I don't beat value here. I don't think. I think I'm just going to call this hand always ace queen with a spade. I feel as though I'm kind of high up. But I honestly don't expect that many bluffs from quite a lot of opponents in these spots.
Yeah. Very nice hand. I think, yeah, you figured it out perfectly. Honestly, there's a lot of players that you should fold the river versus in the 1k GG pool here. But this player is not one of them, and maybe looking at their flag would just be a good way to determine whether or not you wanna call a bluff catcher. I think the shoving is definitely a potential option on the river, simply because, yeah, I know it seems crazy, but like simply because you are definitely bluff catching. It's not so much that you should shove; it's more about you're bluff catching. So what are you going to bluff? You're going to bluff an ace, right? On the river. You do want to bluff a hand with an ace of spades because he's most likely to bet call a combo with an ace of spades in it, like a nut flush draw with trips blocker, right? So like ace deuce of spades, for example, or ace 10 of spades. So having the ace of spades is super essential there to bluff. And then you don't defend other offsuit combos apart from ace 10. So you could just bluff ace spade 10 and then not bluff any of the others. I'm just saying I wouldn't bluff and I would call, but you could have considered like whether or not bluff shoving makes you more money than just calling there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't.
There's a lot of players it would.
Yeah, yeah. Right, here come the hands now. So I'm never limping blind on blind. I just always have 3x or sometimes 3.5x. On ACR I have 3.5x. And I'm just going to fold bet this and get it in.
Very small thing. This is something I'm kind of mindful of for myself, is like take a little bit more time. Because imagine you got ace 10 offsuit there.
Oh, to be fair, I like if I have a hand like that, I will kind of snap do it. But I took less time than I normally would, regardless of hand there, just from again this situation. I know that sounds like an excuse.
Okay, no, it doesn't. It's fine.
Genuinely, it feels still that on edge feeling of just being. It's as if somebody is stood right behind me. Well, I've been 3-bet with aces, which is nice. This guy's going big, so I don't know. Second time he's gone 8 big blinds. Yeah, I'm going to go 20. I think I'd normally go like 19 here. So I'm going a little bit bigger because of his sizing. But we don't want him to rip it in for the content, do we? Because
I mean, I want to see you win a bag, mate.
Me too, Ben. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, don't lie. You don't want us to go post. You just want to get it in free.
Yeah.
No, it's the classic.
The classic. Do you know, I've had kings into aces and aces into kings so many times over the past couple of days. Like both ways.
Is there a god? No, there isn't.
I think this is what happened last time, I swear.
I'm pretty sure too. Unlucky.
Oh well. But I know that I'm going to be chunks above EV in quite a few spots, so even if that happens a few more times, like there's no way I'm below EV.
Talk to me about this spot.
Flat Prey versus 2.5. If it had 3x'd, I would have rolled, but because he went smaller, I'm just going to mainly call because we're getting a better price. Flop, I'm not really interested in doing much. I'd rather bluff stuff that just has a bit more equity and a bit less showdown. I always find myself in these kind of spots where I do a lot of checking back and then checking river. I think against certain opponents, against this player, I do think he's going to have less thin value bets and probably less weaker hands. But I feel as though if I'm bluffing, just like, I mean, Queen 6 could be a bluff here because of better Queen X. But I still feel as though I have enough showdown because I don't think he's going to bluff too much. And I also think he has too many hands like this, or even better. I think Jack X, I don't think he'll go for thinner value bets. Playing a lower VP.
I like your play. I think I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about the spot. So like I think that this is ace high mono. Oh, we'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah, excuse me. So I rolled for this and rolled very high. Always check with these kind of spots. So King Jack, I'm gonna probably do about maybe 25% of the time, something like that.
I'll do a little bit more than that, but that seems absolutely fine. So Queen 6. So like one thing people maybe don't know about this board is that like you can use like big bets as out of position, and very, 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 very high frequency check from out of position. And then in position also checked back like close, not range, but like a lot. Okay, we have another hand. I'll come to it in a second.
This one seems like a no-brainer call. There might be a little bit of 4-betting in here. I think the only hand that I remember, I think it was this spot. I think the only hand that I was pure flatting was ace queen suited, which was the only hand that was in there as 100% as call. I'm gonna call flop. I'm not doing. No, I guess we could have some raises, but I don't know if this hand wants to raise. The turn. If you'd have bet half pot or bigger, I think it's. I don't think I have much of a decision against third. I think maybe some decision. I think I'd rather call king 10 because a queen is. Yeah, I think I'm always just going to fold here versus a third. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, this ace-10 is really close. You have an overcard to the queen, king, pocket kings region. And also, like, he definitely doesn't have to have a diamond to be betting the turn, especially for this sizing. I think you probably are meant to call, but I think in GG rake, you probably should fold. That's how I'd probably approach that spot. Okay. I think it's really, really close. I'm not 100% sure, though. Queen 6. Okay, right. Let's go back to queen 6. Right. I think out of position is playing very high frequency check. In position is playing very high frequency check. This is a board that's like a bit of a weird one. It feels like you should just bet one big blind as out of position a lot, but you just don't really get to do that. Turn, I think and then I'll talk about the flop a little bit more. And then on the flop, I think you want to be like prioritizing hands like, I'll let you play this hand again.
So this is a board where, like blind on blind, I'm not very studied. This is a board where I will just tend to bet probably range, even though I'm pretty sure that we won't do that. What I will say is I think I am, well, I know I'm tighter small blind versus big blind than I should be. And then it comes down to whether I want to bluff this hand now. And I think this one is kind of close for me. Yeah, I still think, I don't know if I have showdown because I don't know if 6x just bluffs now because I feel as though we should. But I don't know how often an ace folds or any 2-pair folds versus I'm probably just using 3/4 when I bet there.
Yeah, 8s you just have to show down there. Nuff versus pocket 7s, 6, and then maybe even a little bit of underpair because he probably just doesn't get to bluff all the underpair. I know it's very attractive to bluff there because you do feel like you're never going to win, but you definitely just do have enough pot share to check for sure. Okay, so yeah, queen 6 on the flop. I just want to see more bets from like the 10 deuce. So it was ace jack 3, right?
Let me double check.
Jack 4. Ace jack 3 and then backdoor 4, backdoor ace 4. Yeah, so like using like the 10 deuce of clubs and like queen deuce of clubs before using the queen 6. Turn, I think same story. You just don't want to be bluffing this hand. And then river, you've just got like an infinite amount of like 9-8 offsuit, 7-6 offsuit, like that can choose to bluff. Because the reason you don't want to bluff a queen here is because out of position is going to be checking down a combo like queen 9, for example. Whereas like they're not really going to be checking more combos with like an 8 on the river and a 7. So you just definitely want to be taking that one into the triple check line, I think, and then bluffing like your 9 highs on the river to fold out queen high.
Okay. Yeah, that is kind of my plan where I just sort of will, in a spot like that where I'm kind of unsure of, especially a monotone, because it's hard to, you can't really have blockers to an extent. Obviously, you can, but it's harder to figure out good hands that block hands that can call with. So I end up just bluffing bottom of range, basically, and just bluffing my absolute worst hand.
I mean, that's like quite a good rule of thumb, but it doesn't always work like that because you remember when you have the bottom of the range, some of the time, you don't want to be bluffing those cards because those are the cards that are going to get given up. So, like in that exact situation, bluffing some lower cards is good because you're unblocking the folds from like the queen high region. But in other spots, that won't be the case. But yeah, no point in getting into that entirely now.
The pocket 8s hand, what do you think about, like, because I know that, c-bet and small is almost definitely not GTO, but what do we think about just having that strategy as a whole? Yeah,
I mean, it is fine. Even when you're betting small on ace king X, you just generally don't get to range bet. It's like usually around half the time you're allowed to bet. With pocket 8s, I think you can go both ways as well. Okay. I use small bet and I do play checks on ace king X. And then I bet the flop some of the time, and then as play turn and river, I play exactly the same as well.
Fair enough. So 995, obviously villain is going to have some more 9x. Not really sure how this person plays, doesn't seem too out of line. I am going to bat with kings pretty often, just against a fun player. I don't really want to get raised, but I do think that there's going to be enough gutters and just floats in general. Even from maybe, depending on opponent, just hands like 10 jack off or something that we just have crushed.
So Nina is a like semi-reg short stacker, incredibly tight.
Okay.
Incredibly tight, like really, really, really like kind of allergic to bluffing. So yeah,
Okay.
have a note of that on them.
3-bet ace jack suited here. I'm always going to bat this hand, I think. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to... I'm going to go half pot. I feel as though we could range bet this flop.
Half pot's definitely the sizing. And much more inclined to range bet like a jack 8-4, but like you can't go wrong range betting this board, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm always unsure of exactly which boards will go half pot and which one's range bet, because sometimes I'll find a board and I'll be like, oh, this is going to be a range bet spot, and then it's checking like, you know, almost as much as like 40% of the time. And then others, I think, you know, oh, well, there's no way we're range betting this board. I try to think of it now and just actually think in terms of ranges. And there was a really interesting one on, I played the other day, and it was on 9-9x, and I called a 3-bet out position with 10-9 suited. And this is using GTO Wizard on the GG 1k rake, so high rake structure. And we don't really flat 10-9 suited, whatever positions it was.
True.
But he has a load of Jack 9 suited, Queen 9 suited, King 9 suited, which we don't have. So it was like 9-9-5 or something like that. And obviously he's got an advantage in the overpairs, but I didn't realize how much he just smashes me with trips and with everything.
Yeah. No, it's definitely true. And like in that spot you were just in, like think of it this way, like you have ace jack offsuit and they don't. So like that immediately makes up like so many more combos.
Yeah.
So that's why on these like queen high boards, ace high, jack high boards, where like they're 4-betting ace jack suited a lot of the time, and then 4-betting ace queen offsuit. So on the queen high boards, you just do really, really well on those boards, and you get to bet extremely high frequency in terms of global.
Yeah, makes sense. I was going to ask you about just 1K and 2K. I've noticed, would you say, in your experience, have you found 2K to just have softer tables than 1K on GG?
No, I'd say the regs and players at 2K are generally much tougher, because you've got loads of the guys that have moved down from 5K who are playing those games.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I know it's a very small sample, but Free Nachos made a video and he was saying like the average win rate at 1K is like minus 0.5 big blinds, I think it is, from regs, and I think at 2K it was like minus 1.5, although samples are quite small still. But from what I've heard, like people are doing a lot worse at 2K.
Okay, fair enough. I just noticed, obviously small sample size of me. I flicked into it last week just because games look really soft, and there were a lot of guys that I had tagged as whales playing that stake for whatever reason that normally flick into 1K. And I just didn't know if it was more of a, you know, the richer whales are just always playing that stake. And if you know,
if you get onto a good game and it's like a lot of the time you're on the same kind of table at 2K as you are 1K, but like just having one reg who's like very, very good really, really, really fucks with your win rate on those games.
Interesting one with ace king here. I don't think it makes too much of a difference what we do if we call or if we click or whatever or jam. It's not. I think I can just play a lot of ranges calls with him being this kind of stack. I don't think it makes too much difference.
I think it's a spot you actually want to call like relatively like wide, not like wide, but like you probably want to call like 10s, 9s even sometimes. Like as in when I say call, you want to get it in, but you have to be really mindful that the big blind is still in the hand. So when they have 100 big blinds and like if you call and you're uncapped, that's a lot better than shoving a hand like 10s or 9s and then big blind only ever getting in when you've got 18% equity, you know? So I think calling is very, very like prudent there.
So King Jack on Jack 10 deuce. I tend to have a big bet on this texture. 1 second. I have rolled very high down here. I'm going to 3-bet 6-5 suited. I don't know if it changes much versus small blind. There's a good chance that it will. Versus big blind, I think just big bet or check on this board is what I'm always going to do. I know a solver will over bet, but I've not really put that into my strategy. On the ace, I think this guy's a reg, so I think I'm going to check. I think against definite wrecks, I'm just going to small bet this because I think there's enough merit to get called by a ton of worse hands. And then this is one of the worst hands that I will bet. I think this is a mandatory bet against this range. Having a king, obviously we have the best jack, but we also block king, queen. I kind of want to have like pot a lot on this kind of board because of what I'm value betting. Maybe I can just pot this because this is the worst hand I'm value betting. So we're around the best 2-pair and better. It's going to be a lot of trips and stuff like that. So I am going to fold this hand. I guess he's going to have like, I mean, does he flat ace 10 off? And king queen off is going to be in there. Hang on, why would I get fucking 4 hands on all these tables?
Yeah, really good fold, king jack. I'll talk about that in a minute. Have you got other spots, or is that it?
Well, I just ended up flat in 10s. I mean, this isn't actually that bad. I think we flat sometimes versus cut off, but I would normally just 3-bet this. Check call versus quarter. Check turn, and then I don't know, I guess check.
Right, interesting. So 10s, I think you want to value bet small on the river. Reason for that is that I think they're going to be betting flop very often, and then I think when they check turn, they do have some kings, but that's okay. They're going to reopen the action with 2 for 2/3 pot with kings anyway, and then there's like a bunch of 9x, 7x, and then whatever the other pair was as well. So yeah, I think you have a clear value bet with pocket 10s on the river for small. The king jack, I really like the way you played it. So I like big bet on the flop as well. I think you can check your hand sometimes. Turn, definitely check. And then river, I definitely don't want you to go pot. I think you have a quite clear like split distinction here, which is like king jack plus, which is also including queens and kings.
True.
Which are all worth 2/3 pot. You can't bet queen jack because you're losing to king jack as well. I just think queen jack's too thin. I think king jack's like rock bottom. It may even also be a check. And then the reason it may also be a check is because you go bigger on the flop. So obviously he's way more condensed. And then on the river versus raise, yeah, I definitely don't want to call. And then the other thing with that sizing scheme on the river is going over bet for sure with combos like ace 6 plus, something like that, ace 5, even made it ace 3, ace 2, whatever it wasn't a boat. But yeah, I'm happy with that.
So what do you think is like, so I was considering calling just because I don't really know how he plays and what his range looks like, but I don't know what his river range looks like for that size if he's going as thin as king queen, which I guess he should be, but I think we block everything there. We block, like, if he's flatting, just from what I would do, I would never flat ace jack off or ace 10 off if I'm gonna flat. I guess there's a whale in the big blind as well, so we could actually just have a stronger range too. Of like maybe 10s, jacks, maybe a hand that aces is probably not going to be in there, but it doesn't seem like he has a lot for value.
Yeah, he doesn't, but also like you have to be unbelievably creative to find a bluff here. So his bluffs are going to have to come from a combo like Queen 10. Do we think that the average 1K and L reg is going to be finding a bluff with Queen 10 there? I definitely don't think so. Furthermore, you clearly have infinitely better calls from the ace-x region, which you arrive like this very, very, very often. You bet big on the flop with ace 4, ace 5, and ace 2, if assuming the last card was a 3.
I think I am going to bluff this. Just not really sure how it's going to work.
I would shove the river there for 22 blinds, but that's a small thing.
That's fair. It's these spots, Ben, where I always forget about. There's a really interesting hand I played not that long ago, and I basically forgot, if you like, that I could... I think I do want to overbet here, so I'm going to go for the overbet. But I almost forgot it was no limit hold'em. It was a spot where I was like, well, I want to bluff, but I don't think he's going to like fold to that much. And like, but I could have jammed 2.2x pot. And it's like I don't have it's like my brain doesn't consider it there. Super weird.
And that's going to do it for episode 1. If there were any hands that you had some thoughts or feelings on, definitely do let me know. I think there was like a lot of contentious spots today. Episode 2 will be out either next week or the week after, so stay tuned for that one. But until next time, take care, and I'll see you at the tables.